and welcome back to my channel. So today I have another Sims 4 speed build for you, and I actually successfully made a tiny home. So by the game standards, this is a tier 2 tiny home, so you should get some like nice perks with it. And this is already up on the Sims 4 gallery if you would like to download it under my ID spicensprinkles. But for those of you who've been watching my channel, you know this is actually a pretty big deal that I actually made a tiny home. And I'm actually so happy with the way this turned out. It is so adorable, and I'm actually building on a lot in Britechester. I'm trying to branch out a little bit in terms of like what lots I'm using, because I feel like I'm almost always build in like Henford-on-Bagley or in Newcrest, because like I just really like those lots. But I think there's plenty of other lots in the game and I actually need to try to use them. And so I wanted this to just be like this little cozy cottage kind of thing, and like a little like outdoor space and maybe a little bit of space for gardening. Like I didn't add a full-on like greenhouse or anything like that, but this is so cute. Like I'm so happy with the way it came out. And I will say though, it took me forever to figure out what kind of gate I wanted for this fence, because I don't think there's actually a matching gate for this fence. So that was a bit frustrating, like trying to find that, but I did figure it out. I did actually end up going back to the, I believe it's the cats and dogs one. Yeah, this one that has like the little lights on it. And I think that worked out really nicely. And I did actually mess around a lot with the roof, trying to figure out like what I wanted for this. And I did end up going with this like really nice blue on the outside of the build. And I will say, like when I went inside, I started using almost exclusively like blue and white, but I do end up changing it up. And I don't know why I'm talking about the inside when I'm still working on the outside, but I mean, I feel like I do that sometimes. I just kind of like talk about the build all over the place. But anyways, I believe I ended up using the growing together windows. I was trying to use the ones from Cottage Living, but they didn't quite fit on that like bump out piece that I put in the front, and I really wanted there to be windows on there, so that's why I kind of swapped back over to the growing together windows. And honestly, I just really like them. They are some of my favorites, and I feel like I've used them fairly often, and I will probably continue doing so, but I just think they look so nice here. And then I ended up combining that little like trellis with the vines on it, along with, I think I ended up putting some like of the flower vines. I forgot what pack that's from, but I kind of overlaid them together, and I just thought that looked really cute. And I found this really cute piece to add on top of the door. However, I struggled for a long time because there's like a gap between the end of it and the roof. And so I had to like do some finagling with the roof. I ended up expanding out the house just like one more tile to make it like look a little bit better, and added another roof piece above it. And I think that made it look a whole lot better, because I just really liked the way that looked, and like drew a little bit of attention to that doorway without having to completely cover it. And then I did spend a lot of time trying to figure out like what kind of like pathway I wanted, because I knew I wanted it to kind of be organic, so that's why I swapped over just to terrain paint versus using like a tile. So hopefully when you download it, it doesn't like disappear, because I mean, I don't know, I still feel like I have that happen sometimes. I feel like it hasn't been as often, but in case you didn't know, there's like a glitch where like you'll go to a lot and all of a sudden it will have deleted all of your terrain paint, which is honestly very devastating if you've used a lot of terrain paint on the lot that you're building. But luckily it hasn't happened much lately, so I'm hoping that's not the case. But in case it does happen, you just kind of draw a like squiggly pathway and then just put a bunch of dirt underneath all of the vegetation I put on here. And it's so funny because I was like, I'm not going to put a lot of stuff on the lot. Like this is going to be, you know, a minimalistic yard. No, I did end up putting a lot. I think it looks really good, but I just think it's funny. Like one of these days I'm going to do like a minimalistic tiny home. Like I feel like those are two things that I struggle with a lot, but like I like them. It just ends up like I add more and more landscaping or more house. And then I end up like not with what I wanted to have in the beginning. Not that it ever turns out bad, but just not quite what I wanted. And so I'm just kind of layering in here a little bit of blue and white, and those are the primary colors I use for all of the vegetation, and then of course a bunch of green. And I do end up actually adding some of the new items we got with the greenhouse kit, so some of those like planting things. Like I think there's like a storage box, and then like the shelving, it wasn't the shelves, I don't even know what to call it, but basically just like kind of a gardening area, and then I put a few planter boxes around as well, and there'll be a grill and a little seating space as well. So like not like a ton of stuff, but you could definitely make use of the space that is out here. And I was really happy. I know I talked about like wanting to branch out into other lots. Like I was looking for a 20 by 15 and I wanted it to be like a wide lot. I feel like we have a lot of like deep lots, if that makes sense. Like the ones in Newcrest, they're all like deep, but I wanted like a wide one for this house. Anyways, that's how I ended up in Britechester. And I don't know, I feel like I need to look for more smaller lots too, because I do like building on smaller lots. I also think that keeps me from building things that are super big because that tends to happen to me. But anyways, that's why we ended up in Britechester, and I think it looks so cute here. Honestly, I really find this to be so adorable. And like I said, we're adding, I did have bee boxes. That's where we ended up putting the gardening stuff. Like I thought, oh, that'd be cute, but then like that got me to wanting to do like some of the gardening decor that we got. I mean, it's not really like functional, but it just looks really cute. And like, so the person that lives here, I feel like maybe likes to do that, and I guess that makes sense, like having a bunch of vegetation out here in in their yard, because that's something that they kind of like keeping up with. And so just adding a few finishing touches here on this space, and then on the inside it's actually very spacious, to be honest. We do end up having like a large bathroom and a full-size bedroom, and everything's kind of like, everything has walls, like it's not like a studio or anything like that. And I will say the hardest part of this build was definitely the kitchen, which is going to be kind of in that front area. And like I said, when I started, I really was trying to do like maybe a more modern look, like, and really leaning on blue and white. But I do end up actually adding in some warmer tones, and I do that because I couldn't decide on what bed I wanted to use. And once I picked out the bed, that kind of determined like adding some of those warmer tones in there. And honestly, I think it made it super cozy in here, and I really love the way it turned out. And I do end up actually adding another wall between that like little like hallway area and the living space, just to make it a little more closed off and to give it a more defined area, and then just putting in a doorway there. And then as you can see, I struggled a lot with even what like mirror I wanted to put in here, and I started with that white and blue flower wallpaper because I do love it, and like was thinking I was going to use it, but then I do end up actually changing all of that out once I figure out what I wanted to do in the bedroom. And I think trying to pick out a carpet to go in the bathroom was kind of difficult because of all the blues. So we do actually, I believe I end up swapping that blue out, or just changing it. I think I changed it to like a darker tone because we bring in some like tans and orange like tones in here, and I think that helped a whole lot. And I end up just adding some plants in here. I think just one plant, but I used those like leaf paintings on the wall, and I was thinking again, like this person, if they're a gardener, maybe they just like really like having plants around. And I do work on the kitchen for a little while, and then honestly I abandon it and start working on another part of this build. Like I said, I did have like kind of a hard time with it, but I think, you know, it did really work out in the end and makes more sense. I struggled a little bit with that window there too. As you can see, I was kind of like moving it around because I didn't know how like to deal with it, because it's a little bit too low like for the counters, and I don't like it when counters actually intersect with windows. Like that's a personal thing for me. Like it just kind of bugs me. And so anyways, I move stuff around and we figure it out, but I was like, I can't do this like right now. I need to like do something different, which like I said, it worked out I think really well to then actually move on to the bedroom, because that helped me determine what I actually wanted to do with the rest of the space. And I thought about adding like another window in here, but it just didn't really work out. And I think just like having only blue and white in here, it made it like a little bit cold feeling, and I really wanted that cozy feel. And I don't know what was going on with the lighting in here. You can see the curtains are like really dark, but like I figured it out. Like I don't know. It was totally bizarre that it was being kind of weird, but I fixed it. So it doesn't look like that anymore. And I was using this bed, and it's funny because like I started with this bed and I was like, oh, this is not working, and I got rid of it. I tried other things, but I do end up coming back to this bed, but just with a different swatch, which I thought was kind of funny. So I still ended up with it. It's just not the one I started with. And like I said, I think the blue and white was kind of an issue, but I found this really pretty swatch that brought in like that slightly tan color in the orange, and that just made it so much more lively in here. And so then adding in a cabinet here, and your sim can get around this bed, don't worry, they can get to it. And I do actually end up, I put in the jungle adventure mirror because I love that mirror, but I do actually end up swapping it out for the mirror that came with the basement treasures kit that we just got, because as I was like figuring out the look of this space, it felt like that would actually fit really well there. But I don't do that until I'm actually in the living room working on that, because I end up using like the new TV that came with that kit as well, because I honestly haven't done a whole lot with the new kits. Like I made the review for them, but I haven't made like kit specific builds or anything like that, and I feel like that's kind of harder to do anyways, because they're kits, so they don't have like that much in them. But anyways, so I do try to incorporate some of our new items though in this build. And the whole reason I even put that bump out in the front of the house was so that I could use one of these couches, which was actually super exciting. I feel like I don't use them very often, but I like them. Like this one, I love all of the pillows on it. I feel like it gives it so much personality, and it has like the blue pillow, and I'm like, this works so well. And so we swap out the flower wallpaper there for this other floral wallpaper. I believe that's Realm of Magic. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is Realm of Magic. I can't talk today. Oh my goodness. And I actually end up swapping it out in the bedroom as well, I believe. But this actually, like, this is a very spacious living room considering like how this kind of started out. And so just adding in some warm curtains there on the wall, and that lovely rocking chair. I love that rocking chair so much. That's the one we got with Growing Together. I feel like I've used it a lot and will probably continue to use it. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a fireplace in here, but honestly, like, it just didn't fit super well. And yes, I know there's a chimney on this house and there's not a fireplace in it, but you know what, that's okay. And if you want to swap it out and put a fireplace in here, you are more than welcome to do so if you want to download it and, fix it up. But I did struggle with that, but I just decided, you know what, it's not worth it. Like, they're just not fitting super well and I'm not really feeling it. So I pull out that TV, and then I also pull out the portrait on the wall. I got that out as well. So I figured, I might as well use it, and it's super cute. So, depending on the sim that lives here, maybe that's them, maybe that's a relative, but I kind of like that idea. And then putting that little like keepsake box there as well. And then I end up randomly coming outside a couple of times because I'm like, oh yeah, I should use this out here. Like, I think I like finished the whole inside, and then I go back outside because I'm like, oh wait, I need to put like a gardening hose on the wall or something like that. So I think that's actually how I end up like finishing up this build, is like going back outside. But I think at this point, especially swapping out the tile that we were using, I think helped a lot as well in terms of like the direction for this kitchen. And in case you didn't know, you can cook on a corner counter, so don't worry, your Sims can still cook in here. And I kept the clutter to a minimum, so your Sims should not have an issue like trying to get to that counter, but they can cook on that, I promise. And I end up having like actually a really cute dining space in here. Like, I think I used like a table and chairs like I never use, but I think both of them are from Cottage Living, which make a lot of sense since I am building a cottage and I end up using a lot of the items in there. But I thought it'd be really cute to have like some herbs and stuff above the stove area. And then I did end up adding a food bowl, but like I said, I didn't want to leave that on the counter because I was worried your Sims weren't gonna be able to use the counter if I did that. So we put it on top of the fridge, although I feel like it's not super realistic in real life. It doesn't matter because it's the Sims and they don't actually have to be able to reach the food bowl. And then just putting a little bit of clutter there on those baskets on the wall, I felt like that just added a really nice cute touch, because I didn't want to put more cabinets on the wall. First of all, because it's such a small space, it felt like just like too much in this area, but also the corner piece for this cabinet set ended up having, I forgot, like a pink, I think, curtain on it or something, and I was like, no, like, this doesn't match, so I ended up not using that. But these chairs that I pick out are so cute. I think they are from Cottage Living, and they're adorable, and they match these curtains so perfectly. Like, I so love them here, and I think this is such an adorable space, and your Sim can get around that space, and you shouldn't have any kind of issues. And then I end up just kind of do some finishing touches there in the hallway and add like a little console table right there when you walk in on the left, so like to put your change on and that kind of thing, since there wasn't a whole lot of room there right by the door. But it's basically right there. It's just around the corner. So then I end up just putting a bunch of clutter there, and I think I put like a plant and that little like organizer with glasses and stuff like that, because I figured, you know, your sim would come in and kind of just like dump all of their stuff there on that little end table. But if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And I hope you have a really sweet day. Bye, everybody. Yesterday, there was sun in